Before I get started, Amazon has been a massive pain in my ass the last 3 days. They have now claimed 3 of my videos for copyright, and every single one of them is, by every standard of consideration, fair usage on the basis of review and criticism. I'm in the process of lawyering up and I'm pondering trying to take this thing class action, so if you've ever been hit by a bullshit DMCA claim by Amazon, my DMs are open. That's a long way of saying that if you thought I hated Amazon and this bullshit show before this, you ain't seen nothing yet.
Never say die!
Episode 3 starts off with Lenny Kravitz staring off into the remains of a decomposing McDonald's sign that the Aes Sedai have towed into the basement like a bunch of crackheads. Lenny is ordered to strip, and much to everybody's relief, we find out that she wears the most modest granny panties of all time. This show has no issues parading shirtless dudes around like Burt Reynolds on a Playgirl magazine cover, but turns into the goddamn Taliban when it comes to showing any kind of female skin. I feel terrible for Simu Liu here, because any girl who wears that for underwear definitely gives blowjobs like a goddamn garbage disposal.
He's out of line, but he's right.
She steps into the arch and into the first vision. Her father finds her, and she sees that she's been spawned into this place as a child. At that exact moment, the clan shows up and tries to kill Lenny and her father. Luckily, the one chick from the Expanse is here to rescue them, and she's a
strong female character.
So strong, in fact, that her arrows immediately kill people even when she shoots them in the gut, which allows Lenny to escape. Eventually, the family is cornered in the house and Lenny is shoved into the basement. The mob then kills her fake parents and Lenny goes through the door that spawns in order to escape. What the fuck is wrong with the writers of this show?
You fucked it up! You fucked it up!
The point of the accepted test is to test the novice's character and dedication to the Aes Sedai by putting her in a scenario that will challenge her to pull away from the scenario presented and go through the arches. This test doesn't test anything about Lenny's dedication to the Aes Sedai or her character. Why the fuck would Lenny want to live in a world where her parents just got Martha and Thomas Wayne, and the mob is going to tear her apart like an Iranian woman who just tried to vote? Lenny's second test is closer to the books and is all the more absurd for it. She ends up back in the Two Rivers where Meth Cawthon's mom is now an evil and incompetent village wisdom who is poisoning all the patients. If you disregard the seething and unjustified hatred this show has for the Cawthon family, this is right on track with the books. In the books, however, Nynaeve has to choose between staying in the Two Rivers and trying to depose the new Wyndham and taking her old position back, versus going through the arches and going back to the Aes Sedai lifestyle. It's a test of how much she wants her new life as an Aes Sedai versus her old life as a village wisdom and loyalty to all those there. In the show, Lenny doesn't evaluate the decision at all. She just immediately runs through the archway with the plan to bully the Aes Sedai and coming back to the Two Rivers with the Yellow Sister and healing everybody.
She can't do that! Shoot her, or something!
Which makes sense if you assume the Aes Sedai would give a fuck. Hint, they wouldn't. But then what the fuck is the point of the test? Is the goal to test her ability to reach a super obvious conclusion and then run 15 feet without tripping and giving herself a concussion? You didn't need the McDonald's arches for that. Take her out to the combination Hall of the Tower, ward, or training grounds and Aes Sedai meeting courtyard that you do everything else in. If that second test felt bizarrely rushed, that's because it was, because the showrunners really just wanted to get to this third vision. At least they bothered with 3 lessons, that's more than I can say for some people. Lenny's third test is a wonky one. She just kind of floats there in a red Aja dress, screaming, and then she bounces out covered in blood holding Simu Liu's Hidori. The sisters congratulate her on passing, and Lenny is freaking out about the Hidori, demanding to know what she had done in the vision. I don't think she gets that it's just a vision and that none of these things are real. I'm dying for somebody to ask her how she would feel if she didn't have breakfast this morning, but nobody on the show has the slightest sense of humor that doesn't involve queer people sexually harassing straights.
I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice, right?
The worst thing about this scene for me is that Lenny is right. The Aes Sedai are an evil fucking cult. It is 100% cult-like behavior to make initiates prove that they care more about the cult than their family. I would give an entirely unreasonable amount of money to get an honest answer out of the writers of this show if they understand that in the books, the Aes Sedai are not the good guys and are the series' representation of institutional rot and toxic femininity. Lenny says goodbye to Egwene, and then we see her riding from the tower. Simu Liu rides up to her, which is the first sign that she's still in the Arches test, as he's way too cucked to do anything without Moron Sedai's permission. On the other hand, Simu Liu has ridden off in a random direction for no reason before and ran right into plot-significant people, so maybe it's just like his talent? The couple hug, and then Lenny hears Paula Dean's voice, but the gate doesn't appear for longer than a couple seconds before disappearing. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to take from this. Was she so wrapped up in Simu Liu that she missed the gate? Why was the gate so fast? It stayed open much longer in the previous 2 visions. Or was the show so genuinely afraid to make Lenny Kravitz fail at something for even the briefest of moments that they had the stupid arches malfunction so they could justify her later emerging in a dramatic event? I truly think it was the latter. The old women then declare that Lenny is lost forever and failed her test, and the Bride of Dracula gets so mad she chucks the pot she was holding for no discernible reason. We finally get the opening for the show, emphasizing how all of this was just a long, drawn-out opening sequence. Isn't this show clever? Back with O.J. Simpson and the Shannarans, who are being held by the Shanshan after the Damani blew them away. One of the kids from Epstein's Island walks around and points at the various women who can channel so Ghislaine Maxwell can prepare them. Then Lady Deathstrike starts prattling off about stolen land like she's Elizabeth Warren or some shit. What then follows was one of the most bizarre sequences and one of the weirdest character assassination decisions I've ever seen in media of any kind. Wee Man from Jackass wants to get his Jim Caviezel on and save the captured children, but the rest of the party points out that there's nothing they can do because they're hugely outnumbered and unarmed. Warwick Davis then shows them his dagger, and Maximus Pex tells him to shut the fuck up and put the knife away, but apparently Tracy Chapman saw it, so when Lady Deathstrike asks for volunteers to speak the oaths first, the soldier volunteers Vern Troyer. He gets manhandled by some soldiers to stand at the front, but seemingly as if to object to being manhandled, he stabs one of the soldiers, escorting him with the dagger, which bounces off harmlessly. He then proceeds to walk casually up to the base of the pyramid rather than making a run for Lady Deathstrike, almost as though he's given up. He then spits when she tells him to kneel and swear the oath. The Shanshan force Tony Cox to his knees, where he again doesn't fight them. Lady Deathstrike then signals, and one pushes his head down such that a spike placed at the bottom of the pyramid goes into his mouth, and another one kicks his body, driving it out the back of his neck like it's American History X. I know I'm spending a lot of time on this, but it was just so bizarre. Like, that's not how that would happen. A person flinches when they see their face going towards something. It's an instinctive reaction. The spike wouldn't go into his mouth like that. It's weirdly immersion breaking. I also have no idea what the hell this scene was supposed to say about the guy in the R2-D2 suit. If he was a proud warrior who's going to fight to the end, why did you cast him as a little bitty manlet who's dwarfed by everybody he stands next to? Why did you not have him make some kind of run at Lady Deathstrike even after losing his knife? Surely Ishii wrapping him up in the power to save Lady Deathstrike from his assassination attempt would have shown that better? If the idea is that Uno had just completely given up and wasn't going to put up a fight to stop anything, why did you show him trying to stab the Shanshan or have him spit when Lady Deathstrike demands he takes the oaths? I don't know why I'm asking this question, as the show clearly doesn't know either. This is his second death in 3 episodes, which honestly is rather impressive. I also don't know what this is supposed to say about the Shanshan. Surely if it was just that they're scary and should be taken seriously, Uno's execution wasn't necessary. Surely Ishii hanging out like a scribe to the left of Lady Deathstrike should be plenty to communicate that point. If the goal is to communicate that they're pointlessly cruel, I guess this works, but that's not really their bag in the books. It just kind of seems like a pointless, gory death for shock value, which is pretty disappointing. Lady Deathstrike then says, "All will bow," and everybody does because they don't want to get curb stomped. I've seen online people say that they really liked Lady Deathstrike's book-accurate American accent, and I'm assuming this is coming from Europeans because there's no such thing as an American accent. My country is practically as big as your continent. There are thousands of American accents. I occasionally walk from the French Quarter to Algiers Square, and I pass through 4 different areas with 4 different local accents. The Shanshan are supposed to have Texan accents.
Then again, I'm not sure if helping Texas is ever wrong.
It isn't! God bless Texas!
And Lady Deathstrike sounds like she's from Connecticut. This is about as wide of a miss on an American accent as it's possible to have. Finally, at the 27-minute mark, we get to Randall Simp, and he's bringing soup to Logain, working up the courage to ask for assistance controlling the One Power. Logain informs Rand that he can see red at the roots of his hair, which confused the shit out of me. First, because Rand doesn't have visible roots, he's got a buzz cut. Second, because somehow even the men in this show talk and insult each other like middle-aged women or old queens. Logain informs Rand that in order to progress to the next stop in his mission log, he's going to need to kill 6 mud crabs and bring Logain a bottle of Gaelden red wine. So since Rand needs to accomplish something, he immediately finds a woman who isn't mentally impaired by having dangly bits. Egwene and Elaine show up at Lenny's room, and obese Betty White is there packing up her shit. Obese Betty White delivers the verbal folded flag that I've been waiting for in this show like a Nintendo 64 at Christmas when I was 9. And Egwene freaks out, demanding that they go get Lenny out of the McDonald's arches. Retarded Hermione informs Egwene,
That
It's not how the Force works.
delivering a piece of information that it makes very little sense for her to know. The Bride of Dracula then looms over Methcothan and informs him that they've lost an Aes Sedai and that he should go say hello to Egwene. She also blames her time spent gleefully demeaning Mat for her not having Nynaeve ready to face the Arches, which makes absolutely no sense and seems like a skill issue, to be honest. She then throws Lenny Kravitz's ring pop into the fires of Mount Doom. Egwene show up and women talk for a while, which is when I take a nap. We then go to a Kyrian party where Rand has his red coat on and fans of the show squeal like the little piggies they are at how book accurate it is. Which, first, no it's not, and second, there's an important thematic message that comes with the red coat. This is the second time in The Great Hunt we get the lesson from Jordan that as a man, if you dress well or like a lord, people will treat you well or like a lord. The red coat is left in Rand's bag by Moraine, who wants Rand to grow into his own as a leader in his months-long pursuit of Paddan Fane. By turning the red coat into an Easter egg given to him by Selene and it only being worn once, not only is the original intended message not conveyed, it becomes a duplicitous thing that comes from evil, which completely misses the point. Rand is then talked at by Moraine's sister, who informs him that the hunt for the Horn of Valir is actually a plot by the bourgeoisie to trim down the population of the proletariat, to which I am very confused. If all the farmers died, and the rest ran for the city during the Aiel War and stayed there, who is growing the crops? Shouldn't the solution be to get the filthy unwashed peasants back to work out in the fields so as to avoid a South Africa problem? Not to kill them off? I suppose I need to stop asking questions, though. There's a communist eat the rich narrative to push here, and that opportunity just can't be missed. Selene then hands Rand the red wine that he needs to collect for Logain, because Rand is too worthless to even complete his own video game side tasks. He then immediately leaves, standing up Selene, which in a way makes sense. It's the first time anybody in the show has shown the slightest sense of urgency when doing anything. That urgency pretty much immediately dies when it turns out that Operation Interview the Lunatic Locked in the Nut House wasn't very successful on account of the whole bit about Logain being a lunatic locked in the nut house. Mat then wanders out and sees Egwene crying in the courtyard / training ground / meeting room. He then bails on her. I repeat, Mat Cawthon then bails on his friend who needed him. I'll be honest, I kept watching this scene expecting him to come back with a sweet cake or something for her, and when I realized it wasn't happening, I blew my lid. Of all the disrespectful, bitchy, petty, misandrist, nonsensical bullshit changes this show has made so far, this one seems like it's on an entirely different tier. When Mat abandoned his friends the first time, I was furious, but at least I could sorta justify it as that they lost the actor. I thought their plan to deal with this adversity was fucking pathetically executed, but I could at least acknowledge that they had been put on the back foot. This time there is no excuse. They made the choice to have Mat abandon his friends on purpose. What the actual fuck? Mat then has an opportunity to make his own way, but men don't have agency in the show, so he has to go ask Min what to do with his life, and she tells him that they should leave. Obviously. We then see Perrin being transported in a wagon by himself. Why is he being held by himself? Are all the soldiers in their own wagons being pulled by 4-horse teams? How big is this freaking Shanshan army that seems to have traveled all the way to shitty village number 3 holding a giant pyramid and nobody has noticed? Ishi is there waiting for Perrin to wake up, and I am very confused. Was Ishi so bored that he just decided to stealthily enter the wagon and then politely wait for the wagon to hit a pothole to wake Perrin up? Did he forget about the world of dreams? Ishi spent the entire first season of this show fucking with Perrin in his dreams. Now we have to wait to be face to face in order to hang out? According to the X-ray content, they're in Toman Head. So Perrin traveled all the way from Valdara to Toman Head, got captured like right here? Are you telling me that these guys carry Lady Deathstroke's pyramid from Falma hundreds of miles to Toman Head? Bro, the logistics in this show are ass. I have even more questions after that. Why did Ishi just give Perrin water? Why is Ishi trying to convince Perrin to join him? Why does Ishi think that Perrin is on his side? Haven't the wolves been killing Trollocs and Myrddraal forever? Why did Ishi just let Perrin escape? Why are the people dying like this from small dogs? Why did Elias open the door like that? Why does Elias have blood on his jaw and not a weapon? Does he actually turn into a werewolf? I'm really hoping that he actually turns into a werewolf. We then cut to Min and Matt stealing provisions from the local store. Min steps away to talk to Leandrin, and they talk about a plan to get out from under Moraine's thumb. I'm very confused about what is happening here. Moraine blackmailed Leandrin into putting Matt in a cage, so Leandrin put Matt next to Min, knowing he would dig through to Min. Then she let Matt out so that he and Min could go somewhere and execute some plan that Leandrin and Min have worked out that will free both Leandrin and Min of the blackmail material that Moraine has over them. I am unironically super excited for this, and I'm not even going to try and guess what astounding dumbassery these two rocket surgeons have come up with, but it's going to be absolutely wild. Rand then has a sex dream in which Celine chokes him and then they dry hump over their clothes.
Holy inferiority complex, Batman! How low is my self-esteem that I'm the sidekick in my own fantasy?
But he got so hot from his own PG-rated sex dream that he accidentally burns down the tenement that he is living in. I am entirely unironically surprised that Rafe didn't insert gay shirtless firemen coming to the rescue in this scene. We then cut to Egwene, who is trying to open the McDonald's arch to go and retrieve Nynaeve. Elaine informs her that it won't work, and that there have been over 100 failed attempts in the 3,000 years the arches have been in use, and it makes total sense that Elaine would know that. We even get a Hermione line, and Egwene gives up. We then go into Lenny's dream, where Perrin is playing with Nynaeve and Lan's kid. Matt shows up, dressed almost like Matt from the later books. They then go inside and we see that Lan is dressed like Abed from that one episode of Community. We learn that Egwene is now a full Aes Sedai fighting Trollocs and Saldea. She's supposed to be making a choice between the old lifestyle she loves and the new one she's living now, and she seems to have made her choice. But the show fucking ruins it with another Trolloc attack. Nynaeve kills a Trolloc with an axe. Matt still hasn't killed a Trolloc in this show, even in a dream, and ends up dead. Perrin gets one-shotted by the same attack that Moraine shrugged off and kept fighting in the pilot, and then Lan gets killed. We then get another Super Saiyan Nynaeve explosion because she's so sad, and the gateway appears again. Which, again, misses the goddamn point. In the books, Nynaeve realizes that her dream isn't real and that her friends need her. She then consciously focuses on bringing the gate back, and it does. In this show, shit just happens for no damn reason. She then runs back out and collapses into Egwene's arms, and they cry. Bruh. The only thing we've learned from these dreams is that Nynaeve doesn't have great form running the 5-yard dash. How are these writers so bad at this? As an adaptation, this is actually worse than Episode 1. We've now seen all 3 versions of horrible adaptation. Episode 1 just ignored book events completely. Episode 2 tried to use certain book events, but because the events that came before them were different, they don't make any goddamn sense. Episode 3 tried to take events from the book, but just inverted all of them for no goddamn reason. And no amount of mental gymnastics is ever going to make Matt leaving Egwene alright. Fuck this show. As a television show independent of the books, good fucking grief is this boring. We've reached the point with Nynaeve where it's abundantly apparent that nothing bad is ever going to happen to her. When you bounce back from this, and are regularly defeating Trollocs in hand-to-hand combat, and the plot is making random events happen for no discernible reason to assist you, there is zero immersion. Episodes that are focused on her just aren't exciting because it's abundantly clear that she's the show's darling. Perrin is frustrating for a different reason. I'm not sure he's made a decision yet in this show. His character could be replaced entirely with a random Shinaran soldier for how much agency he has in the decisions that he makes. There were a grand total of 2 scenes that I was not bored for. I was enraged by Matt abandoning Egwene, and the other was Uno's execution, which I was just confused about and sort of grossed out. What is this show doing? How do you burn $120 million like this? Absolutely unreal. Thank you to everybody who made it this far. I really do appreciate it. This has been a long time coming, and I've been spending a lot of time fighting with Amazon over the previous videos. I just want to say I really appreciate everybody coming out.